occupying a universe of independently existent things, and some of those things make us feel good and some of those make us feel bad. And so if only we can manipulate things well enough, we can have happiness and be free from suffering. And no matter how we came into this world, we'll soon figure out that, well, in order to do that effectively, sometimes we have to make sacrifices in terms of other people. We'll always sacrifice somebody else, somebody else's happiness, in order to achieve our own and to escape our own suffering. But the truth is that this is all created in your mind, and even more deeply true is the fact that suffering itself, the suffering that you experience when you don't get what you want or lose what you had or get something that you don't want, that is also created by the mind. It's not like it's real and 2 + 2 = 4. If I want this, I don't have that, and therefore suffering is an inevitable consequence. No, there's another part of your mind and a part of your brain that says, oh, 2 + 2 = 4. Let's eliminate suffering. It turns on. Let's flood the system with unhappiness, dissatisfaction. And so that's what we experience. Oh my goodness, I'm unhappy. I really have to change things. But the thing to change is inside. So that your mind is no longer, so that part of your mind which has the job of creating the mental state of suffering whenever it adds up the prevailing conditions and comes up with a particular answer. You could sort of think of it as a little mini adding machine, and it adds it up, and if it doesn't come to 0, it's got to be plus 1 or 10 or 5,000, or minus 2 or 6 or 83 or something like that. And depending on whether it's plus or minus, there's happiness or there's unhappiness. That's all that's going on. The happiness and unhappiness are being generated to compel you to go out and do, or not do. Their emotions and their purpose is to create motion, movement, so that you go and get things. And you get the things that you are programmed to get pleasure from. In a more natural world than the one that we live in modern society, that would be things that taste good. They're good for you, and the more yummy they are for you, the more they're going to obtaining them is going to assure your survival. And of course, Mother Nature is not that concerned with you as an individual, but definitely the continuation of the species. So you get a lot of happiness and satisfaction out of all of those things, subtle and not so subtle, that have to do with reproduction, right?
Duality there too.
Well, you see, another thing about the way our minds are is that we can't help but perceive things in terms of space and time. And although we can have experiences that liberate us from the chopping up of process into discrete things which seem to be self-existent, subsistent on their own. The one thing that we don't seem to be able to do, except in very rare moments for very short periods of time, is to transcend the ideas of space and time themselves. And absolutely we cannot do that conceptually. Conceptually we can, though, recognize and speak about the experience of non-thingness as truly having the nature of process. But I'm just pointing out that even beneath that, even beneath, when we speak of it as process, there is still something that can only rarely and temporarily be touched upon, which takes us beyond the confines of our mind's need to have the form, the structure provided by space and time. But this we can see, that there is only process. And we can see it on the physical level. You can, especially now with the kind of scientific understanding that we've all been exposed to, is that that matter is constantly moving, changing, that what makes up our bodies is constantly, we take in new matter and matter leaves, we take in energy and energy leaves. So the world, the material world, we can see as indeed having this nature of being continuous flux and process. And that can become delightful when we allow ourselves to see the sort of thing that you're talking about, the experience that you have. No longer needing to cling to the stability of things and being able to just open yourself up to the fact that everything is this dynamic flow. The rate at which the mountains flow is a little bit too slow for us to necessarily catch, but that doesn't mean we can't understand it. We can grasp the reality of it quite well. But now if you could take that understanding and internalize it to the perception of what you think of as your mind, my mind, which we speak of in the singular, and the self, which likewise we think of as having this unitary property, and not only as unitary but as continuity, and our experience of consciousness, which we tend to attach to as sort of the last stronghold of this abiding self. And we start to see consciousness itself instead of as a flux, instead of as a flow, instead of something that is continuously being created, in a continuous process of creation. If you can carry that understanding of process and flow internally and see how it applies to mind and self and consciousness, and this is all very, very doable. When you meditate, a lot of the problems we talked about before we sat come from thinking of the mind as a single entity, and it's not. It's many different entities, and none of those entities is substantial. They're all processes. They're not things. They're processes, and constantly changing. But in your meditation, if you only open yourself up to it, you start to recognize that, and you can come to that place of seeing that there is only process. In meditation, you have experiences where sensation, you discover that sensation is something that is more of a quality of a vibration than a thing. And the closer you look, the more it dissolves into a very fine, effervescent, constantly changing pattern of energy. That's the process that we're talking about. That, in fact, is what our minds make the world out of. Our minds take the particular patterns, the repeating patterns in that flux of sensation, and grasp onto them.